Let's take a look at what's going on with Dogecoin today, guys. All right, so here's what I'm looking at. We were watching this uptrend right here. We had support, and it gave me this uptrend. I was thinking as long as we can stay on that, then we're trending up. We broke that going to the downside. Ever since then, I started looking at targets going to the downside because we are trending down. We're getting lower highs right there and then lower lows just on this smaller little time frame. I mean, this little short, the short term, should I say. But we are trending down. So what I'm looking at is at the next target is sitting at around 335, and the next one after that is 294. I'm not sure how far it's going to go down. The other thing I was thinking is we have this bottom right here and bottom right here, and this lines up pretty close to this 335 target, which is the bottom right here, but this is sitting at around approximately 340 right here. These two bottoms, should I say. I'm looking at these bottoms because I'm wondering if we're going to come down and hold support right there and then get the bounce going back to the upside. It's still possible that we do something like that. But since we are trending down, I am looking at targets going to the downside. The way I came up with these two targets is I got the Fibonacci retracement tool. Let's go ahead and get the Fibonacci retracement tool. I was looking at so we had this big run right here, right? We had a big run, and then it looks like we're kind of cooling off going to the downside right now. So what you do in that case is get the Fibonacci retracement tool, drag from the bottom of the run to the top of the run, something like that. That gives me levels to watch. So we have the 23%, we have the 38, we have the 50, we have the 61, and we have the 78% levels. So basically, as we go down, we can look at these levels and use them as targets. So now we're trending down. The next Fibonacci retracement level, the 38% level, is sitting at 33588 approximately. The 50% after that is sitting at 29415 approximately. As long as we're trending down, these are the spots that I'm looking at. I'm also watching this downtrend right here. We have resistance. Looks like we're getting a little bit more resistance right now. If we can break this trend line going to the upside, then I'm going to be much less confident on these targets going to the downside. If we break going up, then it's possible that we can start heading back up. I think for us to really get like way more bullish again is we have to break this previous top right here, which is sitting at around, what was it, 480 approximately, somewhere in there. But yeah, I think if we could break above that, then that's when we could really start getting way more bullish than we are right now in general. It looks, I mean, we came up, got resistance over here, came down, found support right here, came back up, got resistance again, and started pushing back to the downside. And like I said, we broke that trend. This was a signal, in my opinion, that it was looking a little bit weak. That's what I'm thinking anyways. But let me know what you guys are thinking. I'm also kind of curious. We have this little pattern forming where we have resistance. Let me get my marker. We have resistance. We have support. Kind of looks a little bit like a falling wedge pattern. So we're bouncing in between these two trend lines. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. In these falling wedge patterns, they are usually bullish patterns, meaning it breaks to the upside. But we won't know that until we break either the resistance going up or if we break that support going down. If it breaks the support going down, then we can't look at it as it could be a falling wedge, but it's not performing like the bullish way it usually does. If it breaks to the upside, the next spots that I'll be looking at are the previous resistances, maybe something like that, maybe even something like that. But so yeah, like I said, until we actually break the top right here, then I'm kind of curious if we're going to stay in this Fibonacci retracement box that I set up. But yeah, if we break out of that, super bullish. But until then, I'm going to be looking at the Fibonacci retracement levels in general. Let's say we come down and hit the 38% level and get a bounce. I wouldn't be surprised if the red line gave us trouble and we started kind of doing something like this, or I don't know. I mean, we saw it last time where we kind of went sideways and like bounced up and down in between the Fibonacci retracement levels. But yeah, so the next spot that I'm looking at is .335. Let's see if we can hit that target going to the downside. I have limit orders set up over here at both of these levels. I took some profits at this red line sitting at around, what was it, .414. Let's see if we can come down, hit my limit orders, and buy some of that Dogecoin back. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at. The other thing, let's take a look at the daily time frame real quick. I was on the 4-hour time frame. Let's take a look at the daily, because what I want to show you guys is the moving average, the 9 moving average. Let's go ahead and let's delete these price labels and these targets. Let's go ahead and delete all that. And then let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's delete this. We can leave this line right here. We're basically just going to focus on the 9 moving average right now. So we have this blue line, the 9 moving average, something like this. Basically, we watch this 9 moving average because when we're on top of it, when we break through it going to the upside, it bounces. A lot of the times, it's a good sign that when we break above it, because once we're above it, we could use it as support and break and bounce to the upside on it. When we break below it, let's see, let me find a good example. I talk about this a lot, but when we break below it, then it acts as resistance and it pushes us to the downside. Once we break above it, then we can get more bullish in general. If we break below it, we can get a little bit more bearish. If we break above it, then we can get more bullish. Right now, we did break below it, and that's a little bit of a bearish signal right here. It's not guaranteed to stay above it, but we are kind of still below it. So we had this red candle right here that broke below the 9 moving average. We closed that candle below the 9 moving average. Again, bearish signal. The next candle, yesterday's candle, we had another red candle. We actually tried to break through it, but we didn't. We got rejected, and we still closed that daily candle below the 9 moving average. Right now, today's candle, we are below the 9 moving average, and the 9 moving average is sitting at around .400. So if we could break above 400, then we might start seeing the pump. We might even break that trend line that I was watching on the 4-hour time frame, something like this. Let's see, something like that, I think. If we break that 9 moving average going to the upside, we'll probably break this trend line, and we'll probably get a bounce, like we'll probably get a move to the upside. But until we actually do break that, then I'm kind of skeptical on it. Let's go back to that daily time frame. Basically, we just need to break back above the 9 moving average. Let's see, let me try it. So we have the 9 moving average. Basically, if we could break back above it, then we can start getting more bullish as well. As long as we're under it, we can get, it's a little more bearish. So we can keep these kind of targets in mind, or that kind of helps us, that kind of helps the argument that we're still going down and might be coming down to these Fibonacci retracement levels. Like I said, maybe we'll just bounce on this first Fibonacci retracement level sitting at .335 and then get a huge bounce to the upside. But I don't know. I'm kind of thinking, I'm just watching the next levels going to the downside. That's kind of how I usually do it. Once we start breaking trend lines like this, like where we had this trend line right here, that, in my opinion, was a signal that we might be kind of heading down. But we'll have to wait and see. It does kind of seem like we're still sideways. We're still pretty high as far as like what we were. Let's see. We had the big run up, and then we're basically just kind of We're basically kind of trading sideways in this zone right here. So let's see how far or how long we're gonna trade in that area. Let's see if it breaks this resistance going to the upside, and let's see if this bottom can hold support or if it breaks to the downside. There's a lot of questions right now on it, so let's kind of see what's going on. I'm not trying to scare anyone or do anything like that. I'm just kind of trying to show you what I'm thinking and my argument as to why I think it might be heading down. But if it breaks this trend line right here, then that kind of changes things. That's kind of changes the way I'm kind of looking at it or approaching it. It does look like we're testing that resistance still. Let's see if it can break through it. But the daily 9 moving average, that's another signal that it might be having trouble. Let's take a look at Dogecoin to Bitcoin. And this chart is still above the support that I was looking at, or I've been watching on this channel. We had a big run up, and these white lines are previous resistances. If we zoom out, you can see that there was resistance. Basically, these white lines are previous resistances, and every time we break them, it starts the Dogecoin price starts doing good. So this is Dogecoin compared to Bitcoin. When this chart is going down, then it's good for Bitcoin. When this chart is going up, it's good for Dogecoin. And like I said, when we start breaking these resistances going up, that's good for Dogecoin. It's possible, it's more likely that Dogecoin gets like a big run. These white lines are previous resistances, like I was showing you. When we came over here, we had this big run up. We got resistance right here, came down, found support on this previous resistance, got support, got a bounce to the upside, found some resistance over here, got rejected, came down, found support again on that previous resistance. What was resistance in the past right here, when we came up, found resistance on it, got shot to the downside, now is acting as support. So this is another thing that I'm kind of interested in is, can we hold support on this line right here and get another bounce to the upside? Like I said, if this chart starts moving up, then it's good for Dogecoin. If it's going down, then it's good for Bitcoin. Right here we had resistance, giving us a trend line going to the downside. It looks like it kind of broke it going up and or going sideways at least, which is a good technically a good sign. If we can continue to break up, then if we continue to move up, then that's good. But if we break below this, then that's where we might start seeing trouble, or at least Bitcoin outperforming Dogecoin, either moving down less or moving up faster. But yeah, so this, I don't know. We're still above this resistance right here. If we break, the support, we're still above the support. If we break that going to the downside, that'll help the bearish case. As long as we're staying above it, then that kind of leans more towards the bulls, in my opinion, because we're still holding support on it and we're breaking this resistance. So that's looking a little bit bullish. We had this resistance, we're breaking that. That looks slightly bullish. The fact that we're not breaking right through this looks a little bit bullish, but I'm still kind of skeptical. Let's take a look, since we're looking at Dogecoin and Bitcoin, let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. And this chart is kind of interesting as well. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. We had support, giving me this trend line right here. We actually broke that trend line going to the downside right here. And same thing with this chart. I came in and I set up the Fibonacci retracement chart, or the levels. We had a big run like this. So I got the Fibonacci retracement tool, dragged from the bottom of the run to the top of the run, and then that gives me those levels to watch as we kind of could potentially go down. The next spot to the downside, if we continue this momentum going down, would be the 23% level, sitting at around 79,000 or 80,000 approximately. After that, we're looking at the 38% level, sitting at around what is that, like 67,700. Let's see how far it goes down. Let's see if it even continues to go down, because if we zoom in, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, so we had this trend line going up. We broke it going down. The next thing that I was watching is the resistances, the tops basically. When we're going down, we're looking at the tops. When we're going up, we're looking at the bottoms. Hopefully that's kind of clear. So we're looking at the tops now because we're going down. So we had resistance, giving me this trend line right here. It does look like we're breaking that trend line going up, which is kind of bullish for Bitcoin. It's not, I don't think we're out of the woods quite yet, but it does look like we might be changing direction on the smaller time frame. Let's take a look at the daily time frame real quick, because this is another thing. Like I talked about on Dogecoin, we want to look at the 9 moving average. If we're above it, then that's a good sign for us. If we're below it, then that's a bearish sign. Or, we might be getting a dip. We just did a big old huge move. We might be getting a little dip and then getting bounced back to the upside. Just because we might be heading down doesn't mean like we're crashing going to zero. I just mean when we start trending down, then we look at these levels, because usually what happens is we'll have like big runs. We'll have big runs and then we'll bounce down a little bit. Maybe we chase 38% down, 50% down. Whoops, let me get my stuff right. Bounce like 38% down or 50% down, something like, let's say, okay, so we had a big, huge run, right? Big, huge run. and then we have to start cooling off. Maybe we'll come down to 38 and then start bouncing back up and start doing something like that. Maybe come down to the 50%, doing something like this. We've seen it multiple times. We had this big, huge run right here, came up, got rejected, came down, dropped pretty huge from right here to right here. Then we got that next leg up, came up, and then that's when we had like a little bear market pretty much. So we had like a double, what do they call it, a double bubble maybe. But yeah, let's see, from the top over here down to where we came down over here, that was around 53%. And that's super common with crypto in general, is getting big, huge runs and then retracing like 50% down or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends on like if you're a long-term trade or long-term holder or trader, but I don't even trade Bitcoin really. I just kind of buy it and then hold it. But yeah, we get pullbacks, and that's kind of something that you can kind of watch for. So they could be buying opportunities and or trading opportunities, but like I said, I don't really trade Bitcoin. I just buy it and hold it. But let's go back to the daily time frame. I wanted to talk about this real quick because this was another kind of bearish, like a bearish argument a little bit. We have the 9 moving average right here, something like this. When, like I said on Dogecoin, when we're above it, when we break above it right here, we come into it, get support on it, get support on it. Every time we're bouncing into it right here, we're getting support, bouncing to the upside. When we break below it, that's not a good sign. That's a bearish signal, kind of. If we stay below it, it's possible that it's going to give us trouble and push us to the downside. Let me find an example. So right here, like you saw, when we broke above it, that's when we started moving to the upside. And when we break below it, let me find an example. Right here, we broke below it. Every time we came into contact with it, it was pushing us down, rejecting us, pushing us down, pushing us down, pushing us down. Right here, we actually broke back above it, started pushing to the upside, getting bounces on it. So we're either bouncing to the downside on it when we're below it, or we're bouncing on it, pushing us up when we're going to the upside. And yeah, so that's the moving average. I just like to watch it to see whether we're below the moving averages or we're above it. Right here on Bitcoin, we're below it. So in this case, in my opinion, this is a bearish argument. This is an argument that we are kind of bearish right now because we broke below the 9 moving average. Now we have to break back above it to really start moving again. It's not impossible for us to just break below it, have a candle or two below it, and then break back above it right away, because we see that all the time. Like, right, let's look at this little area right here. We broke below the 9 moving average, gave us some trouble for a little bit, but we tested it again on this green candle right here. Came up, tested it, wasn't able to break through it, or we did break through it, but we weren't able to close the candle above it. The next day, the candle, we broke above it, and that's when we really got a nice green candle and pushed to the upside. So it's not certain that we're gonna get rejected on it. Like, and just because we're below it doesn't mean that we're gonna for surely get rejected on it. But being below it, in my opinion, isn't ideal or as good as being above it and still having a chance to get support on it and pushing to the upside. But it's still possible. Like I said, we can break below it and then pop right back above it, like within a couple of days. So that's not impossible. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. If we can break back above the 9 moving average, then that'll start looking more bullish in general. And if we stay below it, then that's a little more argument that we might be going down a little bit more. So that's my kind of thought process on the 9 moving average and watching it. Let's see what else we could look at. So so in general, that's what I was thinking. So in general, if Bitcoin is moving up, then crypto is going to follow it. If it starts to go down, then crypto will follow it pretty much. Not always. It's not always perfectly like that. Sometimes other coins will outperform other coins. Like, look at Uniswap. Uniswap's up 14% today, just doing a big old run. And I've been talking about this on this channel. We had this resistance, had a big, huge resistance. We broke that going to the upside. Ever since then, I have Uniswap. I've been holding it for a while. This kind of looks like a falling wedge pattern in my opinion. Once we break that resistance, then we can watch the previous resistances, the previous tops. We came up, hit this top. Looks like we're breaking through it. The next one is sitting at around 1548, and right now we're sitting at around 1242, something like that. So yeah, this one's actually performing very good today compared to all the other ones. If you're new to trading, or if you're new to like looking at charts and wondering how I'm looking at this or what program I'm using, it's tradingview.com. Go to tradingview.com, sign up for an account, create a watch list, and that will let you watch these percentages over here. So like when I, in the morning, I can come over here, see what's kind of popping off and see what kind of technical analysis is behind it. But yeah, Uniswap is kind of flying, and the next place that I'd be looking at is maybe around 1541, maybe, if it can continue to move to the upside. It looks like it's kind of going parabolic right now. We had like a little trend like this, now it's going like this, and now it's going like this. So some parabolic action going on with Uniswap. There's a lot of coins that have been beaten down. Let's just zoom out, because this coin was all the way up to like $44, and now it's down to $12. There's a lot of coins that have gotten beat down in this time, and then now they're kind of making a little pop back to the upside. The other thing that I was looking at is like a dead cat bounce on this chart, so we could get the Fibonacci retracement tool. We drag from the top of the chart to the bottom of the chart. Instead of doing it from the bottom of the top, we do it from the top to the bottom, and then that gives me levels to watch. And with these dead cat bounces, sometimes like the 50% is a reasonable target, and this is sitting at 24.20. So maybe it'll come all the way up here, but I'm not really sure. Like I said, I've been holding Uniswap for a while. I haven't really bought crypto in a while, any crypto, except for the Dogecoin that I'm trying to buy again back at these levels. But these will be like the next. Hopefully, if we can continue to move down, these will be the next spots that I'll have bought crypto in a while. I haven't really been putting money into crypto that much lately, even though I should continue to put money into Bitcoin. But I think that about does it. Let's see what else is there. Let's see what SHIB's up to. Not much. Cardano, 3%, up 3%. Let's take a look at this chart real quick. This chart on Cardano, it looks like we have resistance, giving me this trend line. There's a bunch of trend lines here. Let me delete some of them. But I think if we could break that resistance, then that might start popping too. Let's go ahead and do something like that. Basically looking at that resistance line, if we can break that resistance going to the upside, then maybe we can start going higher. Cardano broke out of the Fibonacci retracement box over here, and once we did that, then as you can see, we got that nice little bull run right there. Kind of had some trouble, started trending down, but let's see if we can continue that momentum and start pushing back to the upside. What else is going on? I think that about does it. Let's go back to Dogecoin. I don't know. You could argue both ways, the bullish scenario and the bearish scenario. Technically, in my opinion, we are trending down. We do have resistance. If we could break that resistance, then maybe I'll get a little more skeptical on targets going to the downside. But as long as we're on this downtrend pushing down, then I'm looking at the next Fibonacci retracement level sitting at 0.335 and 0.293. Let's see how far it goes down. Let's see if we could break the resistance and start moving up and prove me wrong. And the other thing I'm watching is this previous bottom right here, sitting at around 0.341 approximately. I'm kind of curious if we're going to come down here, hit that, find support, and then get that bounce that we're looking for. But yeah, those are some of the things that I'm looking at on Dogecoin. Not trying to scare anyone, or you guys have to make up your own opinion. I kind of go over what I'm looking at, so that way you guys can get ideas on my approach, and then you guys can use it on your own tools. Like I said, tradingview.com. Go to TradingView, look for set up the watch list. You can find crypto and stocks with this. If you click right here, you can search for stocks and crypto. Over here, you can add to your watch list if you click that little plus button. But I just want to help you guys maybe give you a little bit of tools and show you how I kind of approach things. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen on Dogecoin right now. Let me know what you guys are thinking, though. I genuinely like your guys' feedback. It's pretty cool. If you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to watch the last video, check it out right here. If you're new to trading, check out this playlist right here. It'll help get you started on TradingView. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy holidays.